Welcome to the Esports Meta, your place for video game news and competition. I'm your host, Billy Sims, about to bring you all the great stuff we've heard this week, all the exciting updates. We've got a couple big stories, 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4. First and foremost, we'll be talking about Supervive, a little updates on this past week. The open beta happened, or alpha, I guess you might call it. Stream Next Fest. It was a big deal. A lot of players got their hands on it for the first time, and it was really exciting to see. And we'll be going over the reception, how players felt, what the updates were, etc. Just a general feels, see what's going on there. Then Rivals of Aether is launching tomorrow, the 23rd, and we're going to be going over the last update as well as what to expect if you're going to play this game. Big stories today. We're talking about AWC, Arena World Championship. The World Cup Stage 4 happened this past weekend, and this was the last one before Grand Finals. Who got in? Who made it? Who are the winners? Who are the losers? We'll be going over that stuff in just a minute. And finally, League of Legends. We got pick'ems. We've got scores from this past weekend at Worlds. A little bit of an upset prediction, maybe. We'll let you know. But then also, there was a big news announcement from Riot about skins. We'll be taking a look at that, see what the damage is there, how inflammatory it actually is or not. But to do so, I'm going to need to talk to the other half of this Mongrel Mythical team. Nicholas Layton coming on into the stream. How you doing, Nick?
Chilling, dude. I got my Red Bull.
Nice. Hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah. Don't deserve to be sponsored from it. Not Red Bull anyway.
I'm looking at the wrong things. All right. I hit the wrong button. We had a little bit of a background scenario there. But anyway, that's probably why we're not deserved to be sponsored. But we're going to get there. We're not quite Red Bull athletes like some people. But, you know, we're on our way for shoresies. I just want to make sure we've got lights, camera, action. It looks like we do. We're looking good. Great. Awesome. Nick, it's been a week of video games and esports. How are you feeling about this past week of games? You've been able to watch some stuff. What kind of things have you been looking at?
I've been playing some Supervive, and I've been watching League of Legends at Worlds. And League of Legends at Worlds right now was probably one of the most surprising things to happen all year. Personally,
really?
As far as it was pretty crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing that breakdown a little bit. I caught a couple moments here and there, but I didn't get to really dive in and sink into it this past weekend. I did get to play a bit of Supervive, about 10-15 hours worth, so got my fair share there where I could. But, you know, excited to get started on this. So let's get to it. And we're going to get started with Rivals of Aether. Tomorrow is the official launch date of this 2D platformer fighting game. You might be familiar with Rivals of Aether 1. It's made by the same studio as making the Rivals of Aether 2. This game is going to be put out by Aether Studios, as well as published by, I believe, it's Ludwig's publishing company. It's the first game they're putting out. So we're getting some support behind this game. There's a lot of buzz behind this game. A lot of people are excited for it. We went over a bunch of different information the past couple weeks with Rivals of Aether 2. There's a lot of buzz and excitement from players. They want to get invested in this game. They want to, you know, really sink in. So let's get started. We're going to talk about the deep dive here of Rivals of Aether 2, what they expect for the roadmap and the future after launch tomorrow. So let's go.
Launch version. Rivals of Aether 2 is finally releasing next Wednesday. We hope you've been enjoying the free demo on Steam Next Fest in the meantime.
23rd.
There's a few more features we're excited to unveil in the launch version, like arcade mode and our monthly events. So make sure to look forward to the full release next week. As part of our lead up to launch, we've been getting you the full download on what to expect in the game with a series of videos.
What's that, man?
So the game looks so smooth.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, but yeah, it does. It really does. And it's looks smooth for like the last month and a half we've talked about. So it doesn't feel like there's a ton of crunch at the back end here for launch. All right.
Videos featuring studio lead Dan Fernacci. Today, our final video in this deep dive series is going to talk you through what you can expect after the game launches. Rivals 2 is designed to be a long-term project, with free gameplay additions like new characters and new modes added over the years, just like Rivals 1. We have a lot of plans for the game, and we're excited to talk about our future together.
this looks like what it's going to be, generally the roadmap expected. They've got Halloween skins coming up. They've got 4 free new characters. That free word, 4-letter word that we do like. But Nick, I'm pretty sure, what's it called? I'm pretty sure these new characters, the 4-letter words, you're a pretty big advocate in 4-letter words. How does free stand up for you?
I mean, it's a fighting game. They should all be free. It's how I feel about Overwatch, like in the beginning, and I was really glad when Overwatch switched to allow characters to just be there for the players to play. Like it's pretty important when these characters do counter each other, and there's a whole, rock, paper, scissors in like every fighting game.
Yeah.
So free characters is great. That way you don't have to feel bad.
Right. There is a competitive integrity to that, where if not everybody has the availability to all the characters, it kind of creates a competitive edge one way or the other, depending on how patch notes go, how mechanics are working currently, bugs, etc. It's a little bit trickier when you have a roster of like 160 characters, like with League of Legends or possibly Dota. But I do, like, we were talking about this yesterday about, doing some streaming this week and like getting me into playing League. Let's do our starting matches to rank into comp and whatnot. But you said that you need 16 characters for League to start. And like, you also said they do a pretty good job of getting you the 16 characters, but that's the competitive game. Same idea. Characters not necessarily need to be free, but they should be easily accessible so that nobody gets a competitive edge over another. So love to see that here with Rivals of Aether 2, especially on launch, and bringing in 4 new characters over 2025 for free.
Yeah. No, it's great. Free stuff is always great.
Yeah, especially in this day and age. And I know we keep repeating this, but video games as a whole, in general, have a tendency of gone other direction of DLC. You have to pay to get another ticket to get to the thing you actually want. You don't actually own the game anymore. You're just licensing it technically. Like a lot of those nuances that have shifted over the past 10, 20, 25 years. But, focusing on Rivals of Aether here, let's continue. Rivals of Aether 2, they've got events coming up for winter as well as Rivals 3D. I'm not sure what that is, but they might go into a little further. They have an esports season right off the bat. They're going to be looking to play this competitive. This is obviously a competitive game. Online wise, they might be able to do something solid. They might be able to bring in some good conventions, some good tournaments. So glad to see that happening. Get some investment from players and competitive players to make a name for themselves. They're also announcing Story Mode Chapter 1 coming out, ranked rewards and updates, menu updates, crew battle mode, which, Nick, I know that's more old school. You get some beef against somebody, you want a money match on something. A crew battle is an interesting aspect of that, where you have multiple players versus multiple players in not a tag team way.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be good for the community. That happens in Smash right now. It happens in Mortal Kombat. I'm not sure if it happens in Tekken, but it happens in fighting games already, where people are like they group themselves together until they break off.
Yeah, completely. It is a big demand from players, so it's good to see that they're already integrating it or expecting to integrate it next year soon, right? Like, they're already aware of what the players are going to want. This is a game by gamers for gamers, very clearly being made here. And then finally, custom colors, console launch in 2025, 2026 expected. I think he talks about that a bit more in the video. So let's head into the rest of this video.
More today.
Hey guys, I'm Dan Fernacey, the studio lead at Aether Studios, and this is the video you've been waiting for. Today, I'll be sharing about our post-launch plans for Rivals of Aether 2. The main focus after any launch is going to be squashing bugs, keeping an eye on balance, and making sure that everyone who bought the game has a great experience. Other than that, first up is ranked mode. We've gotten some great feedback and data from our current iteration, and we plan to add new menus to better see your progress as well as unique rewards. Meanwhile, our art team will be working to release a steady stream of cosmetic items to the shop. As we detailed in our last 2 deep dives, once a month there will be an event that brings multiple skins tied to a new theme. We'll frequently be releasing groups of items too, such as our upcoming Halloween bundle, which will feature the Slasher Claren that we previewed last week. It'll also feature new skins for Rano and Zetterberg, as well as new icons and an emote. Tutorials are absolutely planned. and we hope to start on them shortly after launch, along with other training mode improvements. In the meantime, we developed a new player guide with a bunch of helpful information that we hope can ensure that the new player experience is a good one.
All right, I want to stop there real quick because right there, new player mode, awesome. A lot of people probably haven't heard of this game. A lot of people haven't played the first game. So coming over from Super Smash Bros. For the first time, understanding the different physics and capacity of the game. We've talked about that as a super important in video games. You need to know what you're working with, and you don't know what you're not going to know. So having a training mode off the bat, hopefully they do a good enough deep dive where they can like let players know, get them involved, get them engaged to the mechanics. Because my understanding of this game, Rivals of Aether 1, was built off of the model of, what's it called, of wave dashing. They loved wave dashing so much that they basically made that a main staple, a foundational part of this game. And that's coming over to Rivals of Aether 2. So seeing that training mode, hopefully they give and provide that immediately off the bat. All right, Nick, you still with us?
I'm still here.
All right. What else did they talk about? You know, the little bit of the Halloween costumes. They're going to have a couple of the tutorials, footage, etc. But that's pretty straightforward. And I wanted to highlight that because, again, this is a game by gamers for gamers. They're really just, they're listening. They're doing the things. That save state stuff, the online stuff, the new player guide, all wonderful, wonderful additions, man. All right, let's move into the next aspect of here. Let me find where we were. Story mode. There it was. Okay.
Our main hope with launch is that we're successful enough to bring back the team that started story mode. It is planned to come out in chapters that focus on different characters or different parts of the story. Chapter 1 is designed to be a linear platforming adventure that takes place directly after the events of Rivals 1, while the later chapters may have different exploration methods for the platforming. Even if the game is successful, it will still take us some time to deliver Chapter 1. Our current plan is to release 4 characters per year. We plan to pull from the Rivals 1 roster, including the Workshop 5, as well as existing characters in the universe who were not previously playable, like Fleet and Loxodon. We'll also be designing some brand new characters, never before seen in Aether. We don't have plans for guest characters at the moment, but we won't say never on that either. Workshop is going to be a huge initiative.
Real quick too, Nick, I know we're watching the video. I wanted to touch into Rival of Aether 1. The character pool was quite limited by comparison to a lot of fighting games, AAA stuff, but it was very in-depth, and then they added characters at the time. They had workshop characters, like you said, but then also he called them guest characters. It's Ori from the Xbox game and Shovel Knight. And Shovel Knight's another fantastic platformer, Metrovania style platformer, and it was so cool to see him in a fighting game. I'd love to bring him back, but Dan just said that they're not likely currently, but they're open to the possibility in the future. What are your thoughts here about these guest characters or the roster? Because we are expecting more, and like you're saying, they're going to bring in new characters immediately, and then they're going to bring in workshop characters, fan-made characters basically that worked well, and then these guest characters. So what are your thoughts with how best to implement that?
It's kind of crazy, honestly. I didn't even know that for the first one. But seeing Ori's insane. That's real cool.
Ori was such a fantastic game, and then to have him come into the fighting game like that almost out of nowhere is such a little Easter egg treat for you.
Yeah, no, I it would be cool to see some other games. I wouldn't know what they'd put in there. I don't know, Ratchet and Clank, that would be pretty sick.
Yeah, maybe we get Ludwig on the case and we get some big names out there to push this and push a character development, guest character as they're calling it. That would be really neat. So yeah. Speculate. Let us know what your thoughts are. If you want to see a specific character in this fighting game, what kind of characters across the board. Maybe what's his face from Psychonauts would be kind of cool. The main character. Ratchet and Clank might be another cool one. We might get another better version of Multiverses, the non-buggy version of Multiverses, or a diverse version of Smash Bros. Right? Non-Nintendo. Yeah. All right, let's move into the next part of this this video. We try to wrap this up, just get into the launch details.
Workshop is going to be a huge initiative. The move to 3D presents a lot of challenges, and we don't have the advantage of Yellow Afterlife from the Rivals 1 team, whose previous work accelerated our development. It is on our roadmap, and we have even done some foundational work, but we still expect it to take a year or two. Just like with story mode, our success at launch will help dictate how quickly we can scale up our team in order to take on a big feature like Workshop. This may come as a huge surprise to you based on what I've shared so far, but we expect to come to console in 1 to 2 years. The main limiting factor here is getting these other features we've discussed in-game, so that our console debut can feel like a definitive version of the experience. We care a lot about our competitive community, and there is so much that we were able to do with Rivals 1 considering how small our team was.
That's it. That'll do it. That's it. There we go.
We have big plans on how we could support Rivals 2, especially with Off-Brand being our co-publisher now. But you'll have to stay tuned for more news on this subject soon.
There we go. The cool thing about this game being launched on Steam is Workshop, and they are involving the Workshop still, so players can go in, dive in deeper behind the scenes, mods, etc., to like adjust skins, introduce characters, it looked like. So that's really awesome to see. The game comes out tomorrow, October 23rd, with their co-publisher, Ludwig Studios, generally speaking. It's going to be a lot of fun. The demo is live currently on Steam. If you've already wishlisted, you can take a look at your wishlist, head to the game, find the demo, and find the full version if you're watching this after October 23rd. The full roster of characters and fighters at launch. Let's move out into there. We've got Zetterburn, Rano, Raster, Krag, Maypole, Claren, and Orcane. They're adding Fleet, Lorena, and Loxodon. I'm not sure if Lorena is already in it, but I believe they're going to come out on the launch, right? I didn't get to see on the actual game screen for this, but it's looking like a wonderful game, super duper exciting. Going to take a look at this tomorrow after launch. Nick, with the last couple of moments there, what are your thoughts as far as how the game and what to expect? How should we approach this launch from your point of view?
I'm wondering what controller I'm going to use.
It's a fair question.
That's where my head's at.
It's a fair question. Are we going to go with the GameCube controller? Are we going to go with a fighting stick? We're getting an Xbox controller, PS4? Where you at on that one?
So I thought like the Smash Brothers Ultimate, right? Mm-hmm. Sucked on anything but the Pro controller. I thought the Pro controller was the best controller for it, with how big my hands are and everything. Even like old GameCube controllers and stuff. If this has wave dashing, like, I just want a GameCube controller.
But I wonder
my
if
muscle memory's already there.
Yeah, I wonder if the wave dashing is mechanically the same in this version. But I would assume so, generally speaking.
If it's not, do you know how mad people are going to be?
True.
Like you said, wave dashing.
Yeah. That's not wave dashing. That's, button smashing or yeah. But either way, the reception so far and reviews are looking really solid. Go check it out. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know what controller you're looking to play this game. What's the controller of choice? Are you going with the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, keeping it conventional, or are you going Super Smash Bros. What is it, Wavebird back in the day, wireless GameCube controller? We doing Xbox, we doing PlayStation. You doing something even wilder? All right, let us know in the comments. Hit us up on our social media. We're here to talk about this kind of stuff at the Esports Meta on all your favorite social media platforms. But for now, that's going to wrap us up for Rivals of Aether currently. We do have more to talk about today. There's plenty happening in the world of video games. We're going to move into Supervive in just a second. The last week of beta alpha test has happened. A lot of people got their hands on it. We'll talk about the reception and our thoughts as we move into the next phase of what to expect. Then we've got Arena World Cup. Stage 4 finals happened this past weekend. We have the brackets, we've got the points, and we've got who the winners and losers are going into grand finals, where they have a chance at winning $500,000. $100,000. Then finally, we're going to be talking about League of Legends. There's a little bit of a drama. There's a big news announcement this past week, and there's a little bit of a drama in the new system to get new tier of skins. That's the specific. I wanted to be very specific on how to call it because that's what they were saying. There's a new tier of skins, which is going to have a new system to acquire them. We'll be going over those details as well as the pick'ems for this past week and the scores from Worlds. If there was upsets, if there wasn't, and boy, was it tight. All right, let's move into the next story though. Right now, we'll be talking about Supervive. This is a game that, just a recap, if it's the first time you're watching us, first time you're hearing about Supervive, Supervive is a 4v4 overhead MOBA / battle royale. It sounds like a word soup right there. It kind of is, but when you get to see it, you get to look at it, it makes a lot of more sense. You pick your champion, you drop in, and then you and the 3 teammates run around leveling up, killing monsters and creeps and bosses, and then acquiring gear to then defeat other players. Last man standing wins. Straightforward. So I'm going to put some gameplay footage in the background here, and I want to start talking about our experience in the beta test this past week. And I got my chance to get my hands on it, as well as, get a little bit more in depth with the new systems, the new tutorial, the new, the gear evolution thing. It wasn't nearly as complicated as I thought it was going to be. Looking at it, it got pretty simple, but I was a bit overwhelmed off the bat. So, Nick, we have the footage happening in the background. Was the character select for the drop-ins going on? What were your overall impressions of the gameplays that you got to take on with Supervive? How did you feel with it? Hold on, I think you might be muted.
Oh, that's awesome, because you didn't hear my voice crack then. I'm still a little sick. So the game itself is really, really smooth. The gameplay is nice. It's getting, the maps themselves are a little wonky to get used to. I did feel a little disoriented with how similar the map is from spot to spot. So I did feel a little lost at times, but that, again, I haven't played this a lot. I've played it a decent amount, but I haven't played it enough to know the map ins and outs. And that's pretty much my only real critique on it is, when, and I don't really care for dropping. I think dropping is one of the worst things in Battle Royale. And a lot of the stuff, a lot of the problems come from the dropping itself, right? Because everything's so random in the beginning that I don't care for the drop in, but that's the only real gripe that I have for this game.
It does create a little bit of a skill, you do have to learn how to drop, where to drop, where to mean the map. But yeah, the random aspect of it, where you are dropping in on you never know which direction you're dropping in from. You might get boned where you're furthest away from a great legendary. Here they drop in and they immediately drop on a pack of monsters to try to level up. They get their first abilities, etc. Here's that boss in this group. They're just quick spamming to try to get that experience quick. Now they're level 2. There was another team capturing another point not too far from them. So yeah, as far as drops go, it does and can feel kind of chaotic, kind of random, especially with the battle royales. And I don't know how I feel about it because, competitive game-wise, you want as much consistency as possible. But then if you get super uber consistency in a shooter, you're talking about a CSGO where, you're staging and everybody's starting in the same sort of moment with the same guns and stuff. And that's good because, it's the best way to measure skill. But in that same way, randomness and dealing with randomness might also be a skill. There they took out another team. This might be against bots, but I'm not entirely sure. Their final kill. The chest drop, they get to loot the chest, they get to level up the gear. The bottom right, you can see they've got gear system. You kind of choose a format if you go tanky, hybrid, tank and damage, or just full damage. And then basically you level those pieces of gear up and then those pieces of gear can evolve into having like WoW special text where it does a specific characteristic, like deals an extra 3 burn damage per hit, you know, hypothetically speaking. Right. Beyond that, most mobile players should be pretty used to this. The viewing is a little bit different. The camera, and that's the thing, talking about a little bit of criticisms and getting used to. You were talking about getting used to the map. Nick, how did you feel about getting used to the view? Because it's not so much I can scroll as far as I want to sort of play and view. It's kind of a rubber band, a dynamic view. You reach further with your aim, your reticle, and you kind of look further down, and then you could bring it back into the centerpiece here. So how did you feel that sort of reticle part?
Like it didn't feel too wonky for the most part. Like a lot of aiming in MOBAs anyway happens with your mouse.
Yeah.
Like all of it, right? Like so it was fine. It was just weird getting used to the AWSD again, like in a top down like this. That's about it.
Gotcha.
So it's like that's pretty much it. But I would highly recommend a mouse with more buttons for this game.
I can see how
I'm
that's
not
a
even
big
joking.
advantage.
Like I think this is just one of those situations where you convert every single thing you do, besides movement, to your right hand, like to your mouse hand. You know, that's what I think is the best route for this game. And there's not many buttons overall anyway.
Right, I would actually like to see. Maybe there already is this in the key bindings. I didn't get to dive directly into the key bindings and like customizing them. I like to. It's like going to a new pizza shop. You got to try the plain slice first. How do they want it to see if it's good or not? How do they make it initially? And that's kind of the vibe I wanted to go with here in the new game. I want to see how they built the game, so the controls. And before I went to customization, I didn't get a chance to fully customize it. But you know, me saying that long-winded, I would like to see, and maybe the mouse buttons is the solution to like quick access upgrade abilities, because I still felt like upgrading abilities was a little clunky, and I mostly found myself waiting till downtime and clicking buttons. And the same with the gear in the bottom right. You'll see a little star come up with a line that connects to the item or the ability, and that's where I felt it was a little tricky. Maybe more buttons would help that. More buttons on the mouse would help that. Maybe customizing the keyboard would help that. If you know, let me know, because I would like to play more and like to figure that out. But you know, that's where we're at currently. Nick, so far we've been seeing some pretty standard footage from the drop. I'm going to speed us ahead into later of this match when they're fighting a bit more mobs, a bit more enemies, but this is the general play cycle. How did you feel then overall with the play cycle? It is a smooth moving game. It's a smooth aiming game. There are some friction points. This isn't alpha/beta. The concepts are there. How did you feel the gameplay loop played out with all that stuff in mind?
If you like battle royales, you should enjoy this game. I'm not the biggest battle royale person. But like the game is solid. Like it's good enough for me to be like, I'll play this with friends.
Resurrecting now.
You know,
big time.
I'll continue to like play it every now and then with people. I might play it a couple times a week by myself if I get looped into it good enough with like buddies. But like it's not for me. Like if I were just to like sit down, it's too much. Battle royales are just not my bag. I just don't enjoy too much randomness in my game. Like I play Magic the Gathering, I don't play Hearthstone, you know? Like I don't care for randomness.
Famously a card game that has random pulls though, a random draw.
Random everything. Like everything they do is random in that game. Anyway.
Yeah. So here's a big team fight happening, kind of give you a vibe of what's going on. I did hear some community complaints about the game feeling like very bursty, very chunky. And that could be something dealing with health pools or loadouts, people learning how to play the game and whatnot. Certain champions being stronger than others, but I personally didn't feel that way. Overall, I felt like the game ended up having a good mix and the champions having a good solid combination. Maybe as the meta develops, we'll see more in that. But generally speaking, the reception, I want to move into we talked about the gameplay here. The reception has been super positive. A lot of people have played this because of Steam Next Fest, the demo there. I've saw and heard a lot of people from around the world playing on these servers. I'm mostly connected to the US Ohio server, not the Gen Z terminology for it, or Gen Alpha, whatever it is, Ohio Skibbity, but the actual US server. And it, I was hearing people who are playing from Japan and Asia and Russia and Europe across the board. So there seems to be a huge international response online, a huge international play test online, which you gotta love. This is going to be the lifeblood of this game, and this is still only alpha or beta. So it makes me super excited about that. Overall, Nick, how do you think they can improve, or what is something you think they can improve on for something like the international player base that is gravitating to this? It's checking it out for the first time. How do you think they can hook them in, these battle royale players or these MOBA players? Because I know you said you're not quite a battle royale player, but you are a MOBA player, and that could be that nice, overlapping Venn diagram of people to kind of pull from. So how do you think they can engage that audience and the audience that has tried it out so far?
I don't think that this is going to pull too many. Like, it'll grab some MOBA people, but I don't see a real connection for like MOBA players besides like it's a top-down MOBA battle royale, right? It doesn't have the things that MOBA players usually go with. I will tell you one thing, like, they're going to steal your Overwatch players, bro. Like, it's a tank healer's DPS. It's a smooth game. They got abilities. I'm sure the characters are going to, the characters look really, really good. The lore, I'm sure we'll get there. And shit, I swear to God, if these people put out a PvE game mode, they're going to clap Blizzard's cheeks left and right. Like, they're going to take Overwatch players.
That's a sore spot. We don't talk about PvE after Overwatch 2, man.
I'm serious though. Like, I do think like Overwatch players would be the place to pull from. I think like Overwatch players would probably enjoy the characters and the smooth gameplay.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question because you mentioned it's not what MOBA players play for. So the question's straightforward. And this might be also to the audience out there. What do MOBA players play MOBAs for? What do they look for? What is that intricacy that gets them hooked and in depth? Is it the character? Is it the lore? Is it the theory crafting of numbers? Because this is an alpha beta. We could potentially still see that happen. They can still be the change to engage MOBA players a little bit more. Otherwise, I don't disagree. But, Overwatch players, more FPS. I am a little skeptical because FPS players want a full immersive, not really a top down, and that might be a deterrent overall. But we'll see how that goes. But how do you engage those? What are the things that MOBA players are looking for then?
Everything that's not a battle royale for the most part. Like, you're playing, like in MOBAs, you're going to be playing against a person, right? In lane, you're facing somebody. Like, how well the game goes, how well your game goes depends on how you play your matchup against another person in general, right? So it's not kind of, like with the team and everything. Go ahead.
I think that kind of glosses over though, because MOBAs are PvEVP, right? You're playing against NPCs, bots, creeps coming through, and then you're playing against a player as well. And that's where a game like Deadlock really felt like a MOBA, because it did a good job encapsulating that part of it. So I wanted to push back because I think it's a bit more nuanced. I think you are playing PvE, but you're doing competitive PvE. How well you can level up, how fast you can level up compared to the other guy. So there is like a comparison versus your rival in the lane, of course. But I didn't want to gloss over that part. And I do think that this delivers it differently for sure, but I think it still delivers that aspect of leveling up and your strategy of movement.
Let me reword it a little bit differently. Interacting with people on a regular basis without you just losing the game instantly. Like it's really like the interaction of what you allow your opponent to do, what you perceive as an advantage, what you got over them, right? Okay. But it's more of interacting with a person, right? So when I talk about TCGs, it's usually are you playing solitaire or are you playing PvP, right? And most TCGs besides like a few, are solitaire based, right? Battle royales tend to be like just chaos based, right? With like a little bit of solitaire outwards. The fighting is awesome for a lot of MOBA players, but you won't really get to that like fighting or interaction with another person until you're having team fights, right? So like we have ARAM in League, like ARAM's fun. Yeah. It's not the main game mode we play. It's all battles. Like it's all just right? Like you still buy your items and stuff like that. But that's really like what I feel about it, right? It's just interaction with people.
I see your point, and I do agree with that. I see where you're coming from on that. I do want to kind of throw in there are strategies in battle royales, and sometimes they're the worst part of battle royales. Like I remember with Apex, there was a rat strategy. You'd literally hide and just leapfrog from zone to zone and just try to get that one kill or that one crucial kill at the end for a team kind of moment. And that doesn't feel good. Playing Plunderstorm when WoW had it, a part of the I guess the battle royale system there too is like you do need to level up and you do need to go play some PvE, basically play solitaire for a while, and that was a fair strategy. You play solitaire until level 6 and then you go try to make aggressive team fights. Other times you are just stuck in a bad situation. You drop into a side of the map you're not having fun with. There's a lot of players over there, so you're forced into PvP earlier than you want to. You're not quite ready, and that doesn't feel good too. So yes, it does drag out and make a different sort of expectation for the MOBA aspect of it for sure. But maybe that's also the great selling point about this game. It'll be cool to see what's going on. It'll be cool to see how it plays out overall. If it takes Overwatch 2 players away from Overwatch, if it takes League of Legends players away from League of Legends, I'm sure there would be a bunch of players interested in this, but it does seem to give a little bit more of that battle royale vibe, which, you know, Fortnite got to look out for, Apex got to look out for. They're not the same, but they might offer an experience that is competitive with it. So definitely excited for that. Any final thoughts from you, Nick, about how to engage players with the game continuing? They're still in alpha and beta. They've got a lot of moments. We just talked about how mobile players might be looking for more of that mirrored sort of tug of war battle aspect, that less of a solitaire, more of a solitaire, less of a solitaire moment. Like, I'm not sure if I'm saying that clearly, but is there any other sort of ways or thoughts with engagement for moving forward in this beta? Because it was pretty well received, and we'll kind of keep seeing how players sink into it and express themselves with it. But what are your thoughts?
So, I mean, the only thing that ever I think battle royales need to work on is where they like lose me. Where is my downtime? Like my downtime of just like moving through the map, and it feels like I'm kind of like, what do you say, harrowing the field. Like I'm just digging a hole while I move. Like it's kind of just really boring to me and takes me out of the game. So that's why, like, I'm not the battle royale guy. That's what I mean with like interaction with people, is that there's always times where I feel like my heartbeat just drops all the way. Like my adrenaline spikes and then it just drops out. And then I'm like, yeah, well, this game is cheeks. Like, even though it's like not, like, it's just, for me, I just end up like, I'm like, oh man, I'm bored as shit now. Yeah, my ADD's going, this sucks.
Well, yeah, that might be the ADHD. It might be the adrenaline, you know, the control of it. Like you drop in, it's exciting. Where am I going? What am I doing? And then like, how do you manage after that point? So that might be an interesting thought experiment for developers of battle royales. And maybe it's not something you can, you know, solve for everybody, because it is a battle royale. Yeah. That is the thing that you get squished in and then it's just like ramp up. But it's
give me a story mode.
I could see it happening. I could definitely see it happening, and maybe the focus on it is a little bit later. But I do also see a competitive scene happening with this for sure, and maybe we'll see a lot more happening in tournament wise, demo wise, as we get forward. But I appreciate that insight, because I hadn't thought about it in that way, where, you know, how your body physically reacts to the game through the game. In a battle royale, it almost naturally wants you to spike at certain moments and then crash. And how do you manage that spike to crash without making a bad gameplay loop? Either way, I think Supervive is on the way for players. Definitely something to check out. Smooth excellent. Movement, excellent. Gameplay, abilities, excellent. A little rough around the edges for some of the UI stuff, a little rough around the edges for some of the other stuff, but honestly, probably one of the best demos I've played all year. Cough, Marvel Rivals, cough. Even though I had fun, but I like to dig on that as far as like, this is going to be a serious game. Absolutely. Supervive is going to be a serious game, and looking forward to seeing what and how other players feel about that. So if that's all we have for Supervive, Nick, other thoughts, any final like kind of wrap up bow tie moments here?
Try not to make the environment too destructible. That would be like the last thing that I would say.
Yeah.
Learn from Marvel Rivals as we just brought them up.
Yeah. I think we didn't get to talk about that, but that is something that they do have a little bit incorporated. It's definitely not as overwhelming as what Marvel Rivals is and how it comes back either way. Anyway, we'll see how that all goes. We'll see how Marvel Rivals plans out in December. We've got some more Supervive coming over time. Did you get a chance to play the beta over Steam Next Fest this past week? Let us know if you did. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Even if you still liked it. We want to try to give feedback and try to get this community together to help make this the best game it possibly could, because it is looking really solid, and we do want to see more small indie companies like this make games for gamers. All right. So that being said, thank you for watching so far. This is the Esport Meta. We're live currently doing the podcast. We do the podcast every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch and YouTube predominantly. We also broadcast on the Sports Fluent Network. So if you're watching from there, shout out to you guys. Give us a little thumbs up, a little heart emoji, whatever it is, a little sports ball of your choice, hockey puck, basketball, football, baseball, all going on. This is the best moment for sports all year, with the different games happening all at the same time. So throw out one of those emojis to let us know that you're watching us. Otherwise, if you want to check us out, we're on every single social media platform that you would be on: TikTok, Instagram, Threads, all the good ones, and the bad ones as well. You can also check us out on podcasts. We're on every podcast platform you might find. So if you want to check out our back catalog, see us after the fact, you can't catch us live, you can find us on YouTube for our podcast. You can also find us on Apple Music, Spotify, Podcaster, all the podcast platforms were distributed. So did a little bit of a call to action, a little bit of a information dump just briefly. Otherwise, just send us a like, send us a follow, send us a subscribe. It's free for you guys, and it really helps us out by telling the algorithm to keep sending this to more people. We really appreciate it, and we want to get this podcast to more gamers, because that's exactly what this is, a podcast for gamers by gamers. But with that all being said, Nick, I know you love the sales pitch stuff. I know you love doing all the different things, but I also know you love World of Warcraft, so we're going to move into that subject of World of Warcraft Arena World Cup World Championship happening, Stage 4 finals this past weekend. I'm going to jump right into the winner, per se. Nick, did you get a chance to view any of the games, or were you just mostly focused on League of Legends Worlds this past weekend?
It's just, dude, it's Worlds. Like, I'm stuck on League right now.
Dude, yeah, it's a good moment for League. There's a lot happening for it, so definitely not a bad thing. But, a lot of other things happening this past weekend, including Arena World Cup and the Cup 4 champions, the move, NA Cup 4 champions. Congratulations on taking first place here in this bracket. It was a bit of a harrowing experience back and forth. They put as the tweet here says, they put the work in to come back from the lower bracket, then put on a fantastic performance in the NA Grand Finals. Wonderful to see. We'll go over the bracket in a second. This is going to have big implications on the points of who's going to the Grand Finals, who's got to compete in the Gauntlet series to see if they can make it to Grand Finals. That's all going to come up in a second. But this was the last cup of qualifying, so this meant a lot to a lot of teams. Specifically, was it F tier? F tier is Peekaboo's team, man, and we'll take a look at the bracket here. This is the video. We're going to, watching the VOD in a second. This is pretty much going over what happened through that. And then without spoiling, I mean, we already spoiled the end, but F tier, I want to call out here. Round 1, they lose to the move, who eventually goes and wins. They get dropped down into elimination lower bracket and manage to take some wins. which is big. It matters a lot, but then lose again to the move. The move then works its way from under the lower bracket, under, down, low, the underworld, and come back to fight against last Cup 3s. Welcome to the jungle. Welcome to the Jung champions, and beat them. And we're going to take a look there. But, overall, Nick, with that so far, how does that vibe and what are your thoughts and feels off that?
First off, I need to correct you, and you need to apologize.
Okay.
All right? Who is on the move? Who's on the who is playing on the move? He's on the screen right now.
Oh, it is Peekaboo. I apologize. Yeah, sorry.
I know
is Peekaboo.
Won. I know my boy won.
I could have swore it was F2, but it's not. I swapped that in my brain. My bad. A little bit of a dyslexic moment.
Yeah, dude. He slapped those cheeks. Like I love it, dude. Yeah. Like I was jazzed. I did watch all of his. I watched all of these matches. I did not watch anything else. I watched Peekaboo's channel very much all the time. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, and glad you corrected me on that. I had a little bit of a dyslexic moment, but this was a match that got me hyped as well, because this was a moment in a situation that, they're going against the last Cup's champions. Welcome to the Jung has been in top bracket the entire tournament for this Cup and it wasn't necessarily, I don't want to say it wasn't looking good, but they were definitely the underdogs, and they definitely came to play and solved it. That's pretty straightforward. They solved it. I want to point out really quickly too, Peekaboo not on the rogue that he's known for. Yeah. They're running Shadow Priest, Holy Pally, and Feral Druid, Cat Druid, and making that comp work, pushing that. I know Shadow Priest are feeling really busted right now in PvP, and definitely threes, because every team seems to be running that Shadow Priest comp, especially paired with the Feral Druid. I think it's literally jungle comp. Is that correct? Or is that's Hunter Feral?
I think it's Hunter Feral. I don't really know the names of comps too well, but like he plays everything. Like that's it. Like he plays everything really well. Like he plays PvP a lot. This is what he does.
I want to ask that question though, because we know Peekaboo is a player who keeps showing up in these events. He keeps competitive. He keeps making that. But like you said, like I said, he's known for rogue play. On his stream, he plays a lot of different characters competitively, but to play them at this high of a level against other teams best in the world. Welcome to the Jungle won last Cup. Echo is in this tournament. Team Liquid is in this tournament. You've got world best players and world best organizations competing here, and here you keep seeing that Peekaboo name, right? He's up there playing that variety of characters at this level. You're saying, Nick?
Yeah, most of them. Like mostly, there's a few specs that we could probably say like he's not the best on, right? But he plays every spec. He gears them all the way up. And he goes for Glad on every single spec, every single season for the most part. He does it a lot, man. It's his thing, And he's been doing it for a while now, where he tries to get everything up. And so it's one of those situations where I think his game knowledge in PvP is just getting that much more immense because he's playing every single spec there is.
Right.
Excuse me. It doesn't matter if it's a healer or not.
Yeah, with WoW, that's super important because every patch can be a big change. Today is the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft. They're putting out a new patch that's changing a lot of hero talents, changing a lot of talents for rogues, even specifically his main sort of class and spec. Then you've got all the different stylings and happenings from expansion to expansion, like every kind of shakeup from season to season. So, that makes it for a great point, playing all those different classes, all those different specs that much, definitely increasing his game knowledge. And it's coming to a fruition, something like here where they're able to take down Welcome to the Jung and, you know, make the win. We're still in map 1, 6 minutes in. They've got 29%, I think 29% dampening going on, and we're seeing some close calls. Currently they're pressuring Drake with a lot of cooldowns happening, all those blue beams, but they hold the cyclone on them that stops some dots, stops some things. They hard switch to another target and then back on Drake here. So, like, you know, they know what's going on. They have a good game knowledge, a good game sense, and they're putting the pressure across the board. I do want to point out, though, that Zhang, as far as on the left team, the Holy Paladin on Welcome to the Jungle, he's been rocking like 30 to 50% mana. He's kind of been winning in that race up until right now, honestly. Absterge on the move, kind of like maintaining that 20 to 30% mana, which can win fights in the situation, is really the thing that like drags stuff out, you know. So like a lot of interesting like aspects and points to look at with this, and that might be one thing with WoW Arena can feel so overwhelming, since it feel like so much going on because all the different cooldowns. It is definitely more of a marathon aspect and how you manage that and whatnot. So, you know, a lot here. This is just game 1, 37% dampening after 7 minutes into the game, and we're already seeing close calls on Peekaboo, on Drake, on Wiz, and Prev. Nick, you know, we're looking at this a lot. We can switch into the actual results, actual points and whatnot, but any sort of like any takeaways currently with the VOD that we're watching here, as you're, you know, we gotta unmute you and get your thoughts as I'm continuing to talk.
It's true. I did need to unmute myself. Dampening needs to go, bro. Like, I think this game needs to be more balanced. Like, this is very silly that dampening needs to be a thing in PvP. But being up that high, like, it's really just making the right calls at the right moment for the most part. Like, it comes down when it's this high level of play. It really just comes down to whose reaction is better. Like, whose instincts are better, what calls, like, do they mesh better, stuff like that. But we are seeing a little bit too much Shadow Priest, but that's been going on for a while. Like, they bring a little bit too much to the table, kind of, you know?
Priest in general.
And same thing with, like, Paladin.
Priests in general have been strong, and then Shadow Priests have been especially strong this past patch and expansion. Not so much for PvE, but, you know, they have their place here in PvP. So at least in the first round here, you can see they took down Drake, and the move take the win off the first one. From there, let's swap into the overall bracket. Again, take a look at the grand finals. The move ultimately winning it. They took round 1. They took round 2. Welcome to the Jungle takes round 3. Same comps across the board, mirroring each other as well, all the way to round 5 and 6, and then the move win it 4-2 in round 6. So congratulations to the move. Congratulations to Peekaboo, Wiz, and Absterge. You got the points. You made it in. Let's take a look overall at the bracket for who's going to the grand finals. Just going to run down the names here. Welcome to the Jungle. They had a big competition last weekend. They did really well in this cup, coming in second place. So they entering first place in the North America Cup standings with 440 points. F tier, this is why I was kind of focused on F tier. They're coming in second place with 300 points. They're able to absorb as many points as possible through all 4 cups and qualify for the grand finals. And then you've got the move with 280 points, taking first place in this Cup 4, making their name here and not having to sweat any more, but, you know, they get to kind of sit easy. Then we go into 4th, 5th, 6th, and beyond. We have Team Liquid, Power Toads, Silk Tigers, Mentally Damp, The Absurd, Unitas, Team for the Memes, Awaken, and Plunderstorm Gamers. Congratulations to those players making moves, getting, what is it, the Gauntlet down here. So the Gauntlet is going to work from 8th place all the way up to 4th place, I believe it is. Yeah. So that's going to be everybody else from other than Welcome to the Jungle, F tier, and the move, who've qualified for grand finals. We're going to start round 1 later this month, or actually in November, later next month, with Mentally Damped and Abjured fighting to stay in. And if you win, you move on to the next round. You basically have to go all the way to the end to make it. So only one team, I believe, is going to be making it at the end of this. Best of 5 matches. And the road is pretty steep. They're going to be having to fight Mentally Damped, Silk Tigers, Power Toads, and then final boss, Team Liquid, to make it out of the gauntlet and into the grand finals here. Nick, we're looking at the points. Any sort of observations? How do you feel is this looking? Team Liquid in 4th place, a little bit disappointing, right? I think you're coughing again, so we had the mute.
Yep, they're gonna make it. Like it's only one team that makes it out, right? It cuts down to 4. I think it was.
I believe so. We can double check that fact, but I believe it is a gauntlet for the last 4. Yeah. I'm gonna bring
based on based on the 2, I would literally say that like there's only a possibility of the 2 teams, right? Team Liquid and Power Toads, which is a dope ass name. A couple of those names need to be vetoed. Like a real veto needs to happen. Team for the memes, change it. Thunderstorm Gamers, get out of here. Like, get a better name. I don't care what you call yourself, man. Call yourself Motorcycles. It's just a better name.
Well, you know, that was one of the best parts about WoW Arena is that you get to make the team charter, and then you get to name the team ridiculous. And of course, we saw some not safe for work names across the board. But generally speaking, you know, that was a great place to show your creativity. Same with overall with what's it called? The guild names, right? You get to show some creativity over the you know, so I'm taking a look at the gauntlet and trying to read while I'm talking at the same time here as I'm being flashbanged. The winner of match 4, AWC Gauntlet winner and qualifies to the respective midseason clash. Event 2 teams tied in qualification. The Gauntlet midseason clash or finals. So it does still seem that only one team is going to make it out of the Gauntlet, but they will be competing for some prize pool there for, you know, playing those extra games. All right. Definitely cool to see. It was a great event to happen. Arena has been that consistent esport for WoW, and currently the health of arena games has been really solid. I do agree with you when we're talking about dampening and how it needs to be there to impact healing in a substantial way. Because I do remember, I think it was back in Kata when it was double blood death knights that stacked in 2s, and they just were unkillable. And dampening was something to help limit that. Again, can it be done without dampening? Probably. Is that dampening just a band-aid? Possibly. But it's something to look at. And currently, overall, PvP is feeling pretty solid. Arena is feeling pretty good. I've seen players who haven't played Arena in some time coming back to WoW because the War Within has been really solid of an expansion. But yeah, you know, any sort of thoughts? How are you expecting this rest of this competition and rest of this WoW Arena season to look for yourself, Nick? Or as we check out this final aspect of it?
I'll watch the next part. Like the next part is going to be where I watch more Peekaboo, you know, like I watch his stream a lot. He is one of the guys that like I'll watch because it is just like, wow, PvP all the time, no matter what. Like, hey guys, what are we doing today? Well, we're probably drinking something. We're probably playing some WoW PvP. It's pretty easy. Like, that's it. Like we do it for the boys. Like it's a good time for the most part. And I just go ahead.
I was gonna say he does a great job too at like building community around it and with him. And that's something we love to see and we talk about with esports, that it can't be this solo endeavor of just like shooting one direction, right? Like we try to see with traditional sports or even like, you know, the Overwatch League or even League of Legends. It feels very one-sided a lot of times. Having those individual streamers build those communities like Peekaboo has, I think he's a great example of maybe the model we would like to see more happen in esports, where you're playing with the viewers, and the viewers are emotionally attached, so they're going to jump in and watch him stream as they compete for first place in this cup, as they're going to move into the grand finals. You know, we do have some time until the next time we're going to see Peekaboo compete with the move, and that's not until grand finals. But when he does, he's going to be competing for a ton of money, you know, a couple $100,000 of his share for sure. So definitely going to be hyped to see, and you know, the team around him, the community around him is also going to be excited to watch that.
Definitely.
All right. So on that note, we're going to wrap up our coverage on Arena World Cup, Arena World Championship. We're going to be looking forward to seeing the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet seems to be very high stake, very high energy, very tiring. You know, is it just going to be a back and forth? One team wins, then another team wins, or is somebody run in this bracket? Because it is going to be looking pretty tough to go 4-0 against these teams, 5-0 against these teams. But we'll see when that happens coming up in a couple weeks. For now, we're going to be moving away from Arena World Cup and into League of Legends, our final topic for today. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us so far. We're hitting our final topic, and this is a little bit of a twofold topic. We're going to be talking about world standings and scores. So Nick, if you want, we can jump into that first, but I was thinking we jump into the recent news, and to do that, I want to jump into the Riot Games preview, what's to come. Because this was a little bit unexpected and a little bit like undersold. They're giving a little bit of a preview and update on what to expect now that Arcane Season 2 is going to come out, and what they're going to do in-game for all the different Riot games because of that. This was put out on the Riot Games YouTube channel and not League of Legends, so you had a lot less subscriber count there, a lot less viewership potentially. Maybe they were hiding something, maybe they are not, maybe they're just trying to touch all their games, of course, could be thought process and fair, but you know, one could argue that why not put this video on all the different video game channels separately as well, because it impacts all the different video games they produce. Either way, Nick, we're going to see if you've got sound again or not, but we're going to watch this video and we're going to do some react, because this is an update across the board, and then we'll get into the specifics of what seems a bit funny. So let's go.
Hey everyone, I'm Mark, co-founder and chief product officer at Riot.
And I'm Christian, co-creator and showrunner of Arcane. We've been working on Arcane for years, and it's almost time to share the final season. Telling these stories has been an honor, and we can't wait to see what you all think. Arcane's first season gave us an exciting opportunity to deepen the world of Runeterra through expanding on our storytelling, Fortiche's stunning animation, music, and a few Easter eggs for dedicated League fans. Season 2 will bring you even deeper into the world.
Teams at Riot have worked closely together to try to make the launch of Arcane a moment that can be enjoyed across all of our games. We're not going to spoil everything coming out, but we're going to give you a little glimpse into what's in store as we head into Arcane Season 2.
Earlier this year, we announced Ambessa, making her the first character to go from Arcane to the Rift. When the Arcane team worked on her during Season 1, we were very excited by her speed, power, and domination, and couldn't wait to see how she'd play in League PC and Wild Rift.
That said, Ambessa's presence will stretch beyond the Rift, as she'll also be playable in Legends of Runeterra's Path of Champions.
And of course, she'll be a playable unit in teamfight tactics, but we'll let you theory craft what her traits might be.
Speaking of TFT, while Gizmos and Gadgets incorporated Arcane Season 1 through some traits and champions, the team's going all out on Arcane for their next set. You'll be able to fully immerse yourself in Season 2, from exclusive champions to mechanics to traits, cosmetics, and more.
You'll hear more about all the exclusive Arcane characters in TFT's dev drop next month, but we'll share one sneak peek for now. Powder will be making an appearance in this set.
And if you haven't heard, 2XKO, our upcoming 2v2 fighting game, will keep the Arcane train rolling when it's released in 2025.
On November 11th, they will release an updated look for Jinx and 2XKO, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
Sign up for playtests at play2xko.com for a chance to test out some of your Arcane favorites in a new way next year.
In addition to Ambessa, Warwick will be coming to Path of Champions, and both Warwick and Singed are receiving updates in Wild Rift, where they will be joined by Heimerdinger, who's live today.
Wait, is Warwick in Arcane?
Who knows? Anyway, we're also bringing, Actually, let's save that one for later.
And while playing Arcane characters on the Rift is cool, It'll be even cooler to play them on the Bridge of Progress in League's upcoming ARAM update. And of course, it'll have a bit of new gameplay thrown in for a little bit of extra fun.
Talker's Trials will return to TFT in the first patch of the new set, giving new and returning players a way to learn the ropes in a low-pressure environment, or grind for that high score.
In Wild Rift, there will be an arcane-themed mode called Showdown, with unique items that you can purchase through in-game quests.
And, like we did for Season 1, we'll have story-driven mini-games for both League PC and for Wild Rift.
Of course, you can continue to show your love for Arcane even after the finale. League is releasing a skin at a new tier, Exalted, for all you die-hard Jinx fans out there.
They'll also have other Season 2 skins, including Arcane Brawler Vi, which may look familiar if you've seen the trailers, and a Jinx-themed Nexus finisher.
As for TFT, Chibi Caitlyn is just one of the many new tacticians coming this set, along with new arenas that will transport you into the world of Arcane. Plus, I heard there might be a new cosmetic type on the way, but you'll have to keep up with TFT for more news on that later.
If you are more of an FPS gamer, don't worry, Valorant has a brand new Arcane-themed bundle on the way. While the Sheriff was a Season 1 exclusive, the premium content team cooked up something extra special for Season 2.
That's all for our game updates for now. On behalf of all of us at Riot, we're so excited to celebrate Season 2 with all of you, both in-game and out. And we can't wait to see what you all think of the show and everything else that we have coming.
And in addition to everything going on across our games, we also have a ton of real-world Arcane merch. Apparel from Uniqlo and Black Milk,
Yeah. Okay. So at that point, we can kind of wrap that and just move back into the important stuff. They've got some character releases. They're bringing an Arcane character into. They brought him into Wild Rift, and now they're bringing it into League overall. ARAM's getting a new map. It seems like TFT is getting some new sets and influence from Arcade. Jinx is going to be in well, yeah, here's Powder going into TFT, which I think, might be pretty exciting for players who are into that. Jinx is going into 2X KO. This is one game that we've been talking about, but we're not going to get to really see that game and Jinx in that game until next year. They didn't announce when the next playtest is going to be, but they did just say sometime next year. So it could be December next year. It could be in February next year. So pretty soon or pretty far away. We're not going to hold our breath, but it is good to have that update. Good to see that. The big news, though, and I saw you kind of shuffle and like wince at this and then chuckle to yourself. Where is it? It's going to be the new skin here, and they kind of gloss over this pretty quickly. Nick, I'm sure you agree with me, but like this seems like a much bigger deal, and they take like less than 30 seconds talking about it. So just in the background, I'm gonna have it playing. What's going on here? What do they mean? Because they mentioned Exalted skin, and that Jinx is gonna be the first one focused here. What is the initial there?
I'm laughing because for some reason developers love removing people's shit they can work towards. And put it behind a paywall.
Can you kind of go deeper? What do you mean?
So, if you're a diehard Jinx fan and you main Jinx, there should be, and there's champion mastery. Maybe you should be rewarded at a certain point with an exclusive Jinx skin for you and your dedication towards the champion and mastering the champion and everything like that. There's nothing for you to work towards. You have to pay for everything that you want to work towards anyway. So, like, that's what's funny. You have nothing to work towards. Why even get the skin? Gotcha. You want to pay $250 to do this? It's $250, by the way.
Oh wow, really? Well, let's go into
in order to get this, like it's good. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go. I was going to say let's go specifically into what is $250 because pairing along with this announcement that was on the Riot Games YouTube channel, not launched on League of Legends, they also put out a blog that was specific to League of Legends about this, about this information, this new tier of cosmetics. And off the rip, people were calling this a new gacha mechanic, meaning loot boxes, shards, pieces, etc. And that's TLDR, too long didn't read, what I believe Nick means when he says it's going to cost $250 to be able to acquire this new tier of skin. So here's the dev blog. Dev Exalted skins, the Mythic Shop, and Nexus finishers, and an update to the Mythic Shop, Nexus finisher, and a new skin tier.
Hold on one second.
Exalted. Yes, holding.
The best part about this shit is the Nexus finishers. This is hype as fuck. This is a cool customization that you can like that you should make for people. And this is basically like the way that this works is if you have a Nexus finisher on your account and equipped, right? So like you get to just equip it to your account, which one you want. There's 5 people on your team. Go ahead.
So real quick, what is a Nexus finisher for somebody like me who doesn't really play?
That's what I was going to say. So when the game ends, the Nexus explodes.
Okay, yeah.
How the Nexus explodes can be customized now with these Nexus finishers, right?
Oh, okay.
And so the cool thing about it is that it's chosen randomly by from the people who have Nexus finishers on your team. So if you all have it, it's 20% chance. If only one of you has it, you get to do it every time, right? And I'm sure that'll be the case like right away. This is the cool thing. Everybody sees the Nexus finisher. Regardless of what's going on, it's for everybody. It's not just for like you playing the thing, right? We do look at your skins and stuff like that. Some of them are awesome, but like I'm not enthused about going from ultimates to exalted on skins.
Right.
I thought ultimate was the ultimate.
Yeah.
The max. The top.
Well, just
right?
the kind of to talk about the Nexus finishers, that sounds awesome. We've been talking about Rivals of Aether and seeing how they're able to customize their game to like a personal flavor, a individualized player or character sort of sense. And it's amazing that this game, League of Legends, which has been out since 2009, 15 years roughly, hasn't done this. Rocket League has been giving that, you goal score and you get that cool animation from scoring the goal, the explosion, the screen changing, they're giving those away. There's cosmetics you can buy, etc. Of course, that game's been out for what, 5-7 years, something like that. 2017, I think, is when I picked it up. 18. Anyway, it's amazing that League is just now considering that. But truth be told, just to your point with it, I'm a little hesitant because that 1 out of 5 chance feels bad, man. It's a new role every single time, right? Of the winning team. It's not even like a last hit situation, which I guess could also be problematic. But like that still feels bad because you could just keep rolling poorly and never see your finisher unless somebody else technically has it. But
yeah,
I'm glad
that is what it is for me.
Yeah, I'm glad they're actually putting that in. That's a cool customization. I'm still a little bit concerned about that aspect if that is how it's going to work. But I guess we'll talk more about that, here. So really the focus that a lot of players have had, though, on this dev update, on that video we just watched, has been the Mythic Shop and Exalted skins. You finished up saying, I just did Ultimate skins. I thought they were supposed to be the last tier, the ultimate, right? Now we have Exalted. What the heck is this? And like simply put, not from my point of view, but I guess, as my quote unquote counterpoint as a proxy for the devs here. Well, we want to give more players ways to spend money or to customize how they want. Exalted is just another way they can customize how they want. And, they're going to gloss over probably how they're going to gloss over that it costs money and it costs $250, like you said, if that's true, to like do this. But like, I agree with you. As a proxy argument, we're giving players more ways to customize skins in different varieties and do more things on the map with animations, I think it was. So what do you think about that? What do you have to say? Just think, I guess, in response to something like that.
Exalted skins are where crossovers are going to happen, is what I feel. Like we're just going to have crossover skins from outside media and stuff like that.
Interesting.
So that's where I feel it'll be.
All right, so I can then see maybe as a hold on a second, please. I don't know how I can change that option, but every so often I change my earbud to listen in and it just wants to play music. It wants to play a video. But a little stinger music transition aside, on the overall meta of gaming and developers and Riot Games, perhaps, my question would have been, why now? Like with the Nexus finishers, why now? maybe it's been something on the back end and they needed to pair it, the exalted skins, with something. Maybe they just finally feeling like, okay, yeah, let's do this because then we can, it's a back burner, it's a backlog quality of life thing. But then why now for the exalted skin? That theory where it's going to be a way for them to integrate and cross promote from other games might be something to hold out, where they can hit that price point, where it, quote unquote, makes sense to them, makes a profit for them. Why now for that? And like, that is an answer. That is a possibility in this world for sure. The Mythic Shop update, the exalted skins and Nexus finishers all paired into that push of like, yeah, let's do a crossover, because we're seeing how Overwatch is really succeeding on that that casual cosmetic side of things.
Yeah. TLDR, you guys spend too much money on skins.
And that's something we talk about in general, because that's across the board with a lot of video gamers, that you feel compelled where you have to buy the skin. I can't play the game unless I buy that Transformers skin. No, man.
The balls on this company, though, like for real, they released the Ari skin and they go, this is only for whales, and then half the price of that is gonna be for everybody else. Imagine thinking like $250 is where the normal person's gonna be, and then $500 is, you can afford to spend $500. There's some clown fiesta stuff.
If you really like Ari, or you really like Faker, this is for you, because this is where you're going to spend $400 to $500, right? And then now, like you're saying, the projected cost of the exalted skins are going to be $250. But at that point, with the exalted skins, let's take a look at what they say it is, because immediately off the bat, as we read this article, exalted is a new skin tier that fits into what we defined as luxury good. And they started saying that last December, luxury good. Man. So this is like some sort of weird qualifier. This sounds like some CEO talk, some CEO marketing talk as well. But okay,
it's literally, it reads as Pokimane going, sorry, poor boys, you can't afford my cookies. Like, that's how it reads to me. I gotta afford this shit, but like, am I gonna spend any, like, a luxury digital good? Bro, I play Magic the Gathering. I got luxury cardboard. Like, you're out of your mind to try to get money off of me like that. Like, anyway.
Yeah. So the ironic part of this, I don't totally agree with the Pokimane. The direct quote, absolutely, sorry, poor boy, absolutely applies to that. But like, I think this is getting utilized in a not memed way, kind of, because when we continue on to it into this blog, over the past year, we've continued to refine what luxury goods are and where they exist in our catalog. Exalted skins are for players who want hyper-exclusive skins. Exalted skins are what happen when we let our teams cook, pushing our design and tech capabilities to make the best possible skin for each champion's unique fantasy within a specific theme. Big sigh. And the thing that I'm focused on here is the sentence of exalted skins are for players who want hyper exclusive skins. So are they going to limit the amount of skins they sell? Probably no.
They're endorsing elitist toxicity.
Exactly. They're going to make it hyper FOMO, and people are going to spend the money. People are going to beg for League of Legends gift cards for their, birthdays or holidays, etc. So that hyper exclusive skin is going to just not be there's a real good chance that the hyper exclusive skin is not going to be hyper exclusive. And I'm willing to bet, as somebody who's just experienced in the video game world, it doesn't really have skin in the game here for League of Legends, that they're going to make it hyper exclusive by time release. Like, they're going to release this skin for this many weeks or this many days, so you better get it now, or right? They're not going to be available all the time. And they're not going to do it hyper exclusive in the other way, where it's like, we're only going to sell 1,000 of these skins, right? So like, they're not necessarily going to stay hyper exclusive, and they're just going to create a metric ton of FOMO for players and people to go, where's my credit card? I got to do this because it's not going to be here again, and I got to flex. you know, it's just a big shrug moment. This marketing copy does not feel good. You can sense the sort of disrespect underneath it, and from the dev side or the marketer side, the copy that the way they're writing this, they're doing it, and they're hiding the part of it, but they're not really hiding it. They're like feng shuiing it. They're like judoing it, so like it doesn't look bad or feel bad. They're just trying to sell you a story here with the idea of selling you a skin. Nick, does it actually say anywhere like how you're going to be able to get the skins? We can continue reading, but I just want to, get your like, immediate
Control F
sort
polls.
of. What's that?
Control F polls.
Control F polls.
The word polls, like the word PULL. I think that's the word that they used. Like that's the
so
the,
yeah,
that was the
we're gonna keep reading in the blog to see. You know, I just want to know if you knew from being pre-exposed to this information, this topic. So on that, let's move in and keep reading on. That said, we know that most players are looking for cool, accessible skins at a variety of price points, and we're not slowing down on delivering those either. Transcendent, Exalted, and Mythic skins will only make up 10% of what we're delivering moving forward. So right there, they're saying they're limiting their workload towards those things. So that's where the exclusivity part might be coming in. Anyway,
no.
So yeah,
this shit tilts me, man. It tilts me so hard.
Good. It does not feel good.
No, it just says we can release shit at a lower price, like actual shit, like dog shit.
It's literally saying they're creating scarcity. We're going to release less of these, and it's going to be able to make price high, kind of thing. We're delivering 10% on Transcendent, Exalted, and Mythic variants skins. They're going to be working on that 10% of the time. If they make 100 skins, only 10 of them are going to be those 3. That's exclusivity. That's scarcity. That's not a good thing. All right, moving forward with this, while the majority of the skins will be easily unlocked at lower price points. So they're trying to justify it, qualify it. Great. Like, they're not going to create massive FOMO. They're not creating this whole super economy, these hyper exclusive economy. Anyway, we want to deliver optional, desirable cosmetics along with the entire price curve, not just the high end. So again, they're emphasizing optional here, but I'm sure that, it doesn't feel optional for these players wanting to buy them that think they're cool. Anyway, skins are the primary way we monetize League. The revenue from skins, especially those at higher price points, allow us to invest in areas. So this is justification to why they're doing it. Allows us to invest in areas like new modes, champions, and further explorations in narrative like Spirit of Hearthhome minigame. Nick, you're a better expert on this. How much have they been doing? Are they struggling on money in that way? Like, as far as your experience, is that are they not making new champions or game modes? Or this is just hey, Corpa business excuse here?
This is horseshit. Okay. The reasons why you put new game modes is to make sure that your active player count is up during certain times for the most part.
Retention
goes up, players come back, they might play more League, might buy some skins, stuff like that. If you're not making new champions, dead fucking game. Like, and I don't even want to sugarcoat it, like, just dead game. Like, if you're telling me we're not going to release any more champions, dead game. Dead game, let it just go to mobile and die. I don't care, just like Overwatch. Just kidding. That's going to go to mobile. Just to jab at you. But like new modes and then further explorations and narrative like Spirit of Hearthhome minigame, that's what made Riot. So if you're telling me I have to like kowtow to you and give you money just so you can do your, like, essentially be the company you've been for the most part, right? Like it's really weird to me. Like really, really weird that we're doing this. Like,
yeah. The wording through all this seems like CEO pivoting. We're going to pivot for our shareholders to make more revenue streams and profitize it. And like, we're going to create a new tier of skins. We're going to make it hyper exclusive. So it shouldn't matter that much. It's optional, guys. It's optional. You don't have to get it. And it's hyper exclusive and we're not going to work on it very much. Like, all of that together sounds like some CEO at a stockholder shareholders. I've been in meetings at business like this where it's like it's not connecting, and they're trying to justify it, and it's a reach. It does feel like a reach. Nick, I'm going to continue working into the rest of this blog real quick, just so we can wrap up this part of League. But like overall, the take, I don't know, across the board, I can see why players would be upset, but then there's a secondary degree of why they're upset that is absolutely justified, where it's like, what are they doing to this game? And they're trying to say, well, League won't exist unless we sell you skins.
And that's insane. People already buy skins. People just bought the faker skin, like way too much. They fired the guy who made the damn thing. Like, laid off. They didn't really fire him, right?
Yeah,
like,
sure, yeah.
So if we're gonna say that that's the quality that we're looking for, and you got rid of the guy who releases like the first kind of exalted skin, right? At 5, like, I don't
luxury. Luxury. Remember, luxury.
It all seems goofy. And just remember that I'm pretty sure that they're publicly traded.
Yeah, that's something we could take a look at if they're trying to drive stock prices up, if they're trying to, like, you know, bounce back or whatever. We'll see what their justification or actual backroom thing. But what they're saying here does not line up to what is actually happening. And I think that's what a lot of players are feeling. So continuing with,
it's my bad.
So continuing with the blog here. We kick off Exalted Skins with Arcane Fractured Jinx. As the work for Arcane began, we became inspired by not just the show, but by Jinx's story in Season 2 particularly. Her chaotic energy is brought to the Rift through 2 distinct models across 3 different forms and VFX that highlight her story. Each form also has unique voiceover that reflects her at the moment in her journey. You can swap between these versions at any point in-game by using a slot machine mechanic controlled by her Control +5. If you hit big, which is always because Jinx never loses, you can change forms. So here's the image of what they're talking about. Their concept of that's the ultimate, correct, Nick? The big rocket.
Yeah, that's her big ultimate. Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems that, you know, you can change that cosmetic and the explosion that animates when you hits the ground, and it's anchoring more on the arcane style and visual of that. The fractured Jinx. Moving into, here's another example of the explosion, the impact. And how the lottery thing changes that. So basically you have a couple different animations that could play, it seems like. And when you use the ability, is that a correct assumption, do you feel like?
Yeah, dude, they just said you get a random.
Which could be cool.
In game.
But is that $250?
It's not cool.
Is that $250?
You just bought it.
Yeah.
Someone's playing magical hats with the thing you just bought. Like, what?
Yeah, man.
That's crazy.
That aspect of it could be neat because it's, what's it called? It's cosmetic, right? But when you spend $250 on the random thing, like, man, dude, again, this is a luxury item, guys. Remember, a luxury item. You don't need to buy this, you broke boy. All right, moving into the rest. Continuing the blog here, these forms will also be reflected across the 3 HUD overlays, which reflect some of her experiences from Season 1 and Season 2. All right. We really wish we could show you more right now, but again, spoilers, sure. We'll be sure to check back in closer to the skins launch with more details. Okay, awesome. Acquiring exalted skins. When we were designing how you acquire exalted skins, we considered making them a set price. However, we decided to pursue another... Wait. They said the quiet thing out loud. They're saying the quiet thing out loud right now. We considered making them a set price. However, we decided to pursue another way that would allow players who may not want to commit to a larger price the chance to get them at a lower investment. This is a real big facepalm moment. So, like, they're basically saying, we want you to gamble, knowing that gambling and loot boxes are banned in certain countries, that it creates bad habits in player behavior, exploitative player behavior. They're literally saying it and framing it like it's a good thing. Well, you might have a chance to hit the lottery, Nick. This is a luxury item, Nick. You might have a chance to win the lottery.
So they might get around this by you not being able to interact with this system at all unless you buy the thing to interact with it, right? So like you get in trouble with the Chinese government if the kids can interact with the loot box in general really easily
Yeah.
and then get into it, right? But maybe like if you have to buy something that prevents you from getting into these things like the shards and stuff like that, it might be their little like workaround and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just a shit sandwich all
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, the sentence here. So we built a new system called the Sanctum with that in mind. It sounds like, again, like what you're saying, they're separating it to consider it a separate function, so it won't be, unilaterally considered gambling or loot boxing. It feels bad, man. This all just feels bad. And I see why a lot of noise on the internet was very loud about this. I'm not into the League of Legends bubble of stuff, but this was coming up across my feeds, and this, I can see why the details are showing that people are pissed.
People are going to be pissed, right? But again, like, it's doing exactly what they want it to do, right? So if 90% of the community is pissed and the other 10% is buying the shit, then mission accomplished. Luxury goods that are exclusive, like, so, they're able to accomplish this nonsense.
Yeah, and I like how they're justifying it the entire time with these sort of statements. They're kind of giving these like, well, you see, what had happened was kind of thoughts, like this sentence. This sort of system is popular with many of our players across the globe.
Yeah, cool.
That's another big sigh moment, because it's supposed to be hyper exclusive. They're using this system exclusively for the hyper luxury exclusive items, but then it's popular with a lot of players. Why would it matter if it's popular with many players? What is many? Many is a vague term as well. So like, it's a weird kind of dissection of trying to sell you on this idea by giving you adjacently correct information, but then also justifying on our end, well, we make money from skins. Well, this is a popular system across the globe. This just feels bad, man. This feels so bad. Okay, so getting into the actual system of the blog. In the Sanctum, you'll use new currency called Ancient Sparks to draw from a pool of rewards, which include the Jinx Exalted skin alongside other content. Ancient Sparks are available for 400 RP each and don't expire. If you get what you want early, you can save sparks for future pulls. Yippee. We've also included a bad luck protection to make sure you're never too far from the item you want. For example, the base drop rate of an Exalted skin line like Arcane Fractured Jinx is 0.5%, less than 1%, but you're guaranteed to unlock it within 80 pulls, making your maximum investment 3,200 RP. And I'm guessing this is where the math comes in, where 3,200 RP, or sorry, 32,000 RP costs $250. Is that correct, Nick?
Yeah, pretty much.
Dude, I wish I could play a slot machine and be guaranteed to win within 80 pulls. And like, how much are you winning? This royally sucks. Plus, your progress on that bad luck protection carries over from one Exalted skin offering to the next. What does that even mean? That if you get lucky on the one that, within, let's say you get lucky within 40 pulls, that the next Exalted skin is only going to take 40 pulls? That just sounds like it's keeping people in the Ancient Spark system here, the Sanctum system. That's just, oh man, this is bad. This is casino shit. I worked at a little back history for me. I worked at a casino for 8 years, an online casino here in New Jersey that managed sports books and casinos for a couple major brands. I did that for 8 years from the community side of it. This is wild, man. This is wild, and this is wild because of how unregulated this is gonna be. This is wild, dude. I'm sorry I cut you off, but I had to, dude, this is insane.
Yeah, like, I don't know what else to say besides, like, this is what everybody kind of does. Like, every company does this.
Yeah, the transition to that, but this feels pretty egregious to me, coming from my history and background in iGaming, in sports books and whatnot, and like, they're basically saying you could buy the skin or you can maybe get it early, but at the worst cases you buy it for $250, 32,000 RP. Anyway, here's some drop rates, S tier content for what you're gonna get. Excuse me. You get mythic essences. You'll get exclusive Paragon chromas, all cosmetic things. I think the TLDR from this and with this is, generally speaking, just don't buy cosmetics. Don't spend the money on the game. Obviously, if there's value to it, like something like Rivals of Aether 2, which is giving you good guy vibes and good community stuff, support them. But man, this is like hard to just justify any sort of support, dude.
I mean, it's the CEOs, man. You hire CEOs, and the CEOs end up doing some heinous stuff like this, crushing the community for no reason. And the guy that they have now is just out for money, considering he used to be like the chief financial officer for a while.
Well, that makes sense
and
then too.
Like,
that makes sense too.
Like
the CFO is going in. He's the money guy, so he's going to be looking at it from that business money guy. It's like the story from the Blizzard book that just came out, where they have the soap CEO come in, and then he's like, "Well, let's get rid of BlizzCon because it doesn't make any sense." And it's like, okay, that logic is good when you're just looking at numbers, but not considering that video games is a cultural experience. Video games is a lifestyle kind of stuff. And like, you're getting the same vibes from here. The CFO coming up and going, hey, yeah, let's diversify revenue stream and call it luxury items. And then just, circumvent any sort of casino regulations and loot box regulations in countries and bans by doing this and that. This seems like a big work in progress and like a big jump. And they're really just like CEO talking their way through it, man. Dude, I'm sorry, man. I'm upset. I'm so upset at this.
He's the guy who the current CEO is the guy who what is it? He led the company when doing the equity sale to Tencent. Why do I keep turning red? My God, I'm getting pissed.
I mean, we're all hyped up. We're fired up at this. So he was the dude who led the sale to Tencent, and then Tencent is putting him in the top position.
I don't know if Tencent's been in the top position, but basically this guy's all about money. The last guy was all about losing money. And
sure, yeah.
Like, it's pretty much like the MMO got put on hold. Like a ton of things got put on hold, but like there has to be a way that your company is profitable without like trying to basically force people into like buying skins for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
So I want to also, like, this kind of brings up an interesting, not sort of video game thing, but just, I guess, a general business sort of thing. The people who generally get promoted are the people who put up the best numbers. The people who put up the best numbers aren't necessarily good at their well, first off, they're the people that are good at the job of where they are, perhaps. Like, if I'm sales floor and I get promoted to manager, because I was selling a lot, that doesn't mean I'm going to be good at manager. It just means I sold a lot of items on the sales floor and I knew how to do that. It doesn't even mean I'm good at doing that. It just means I did do it. And then you get from manager, it's like they could just, they get promoted and they're bad at manager. That happens a lot of times in like office culture and like the corporation sort of like hierarchy of things. But then on top of which is you got the people who keep moving up are the people who are just like, I don't want to say they're butt kissers, but they play the game well, right? It's not just about nepotism or who likes who, but it is about selling yourself on like, look, I'm able to do this, I'm able to that. And like, you don't necessarily want the person steering the ship. Like, you don't want the captain of the ship, the person who could like loot the most plunder. You want the captain of the ship to be able to like, steer the ship well, understand what it takes to do that, understand what the pirates, the sailors need, right? You want to, have a captain of the ship that's able to just, see the bigger picture and steer the ship. And it's so much more and bigger than the the I can sell a lot, I can bring more revenue, and like that's traditionally what you see happen in these. So a little bit of a sidebar. That's traditionally what you see happen. The people who get promoted again and again are the people who get themselves brought up to the top because of like they play the game well, tactics and mindset. Man,
Sure. I mean, like for me, it just boils down to like good salesmen make you realize that you need or want the product, right? That's not doing this. Like I could literally think of an easy way to get me to buy skins and have them be exclusive at the same time. Set up a WoW subscription service that you can't buy this month's skins unless you had the subscription last month. Like that's it. Like boom, I'm now paying $10 a month and you got 10 million active players every month. And look at that nonsense. That's like what?
Yeah.
There's $100 million right there just from that. Sell the skins at $2 a piece for the active players. Again, $20 million per month just off of one skin. Like it's just really stupid. Like get me to buy it because like I can afford everything rather than saying I can't afford anything and maybe I can get this one skin. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just real stupid. It puts a lot of people off.
It's true, man. And like one thing is I'm hopeful because companies like Valve were removing the battle pass from Dota and stuff like that, where, you know, they're moving away from systems of monetization like battle passes, whereas you've got Apex doubling down, doing 2 battle passes a season, right? And then beyond that, like it's crazy to me because then the pessimistic side is that it's also crazy to me that people are buying digital assets. This feels like NFTs. This feels as scammy and scummy as something like that, where it's like these non-fungible tokens. Like you don't even own that. If you were to spend $250 on this Exalted skin, you don't own it. The game goes away. It's gone forever. League of Legends has been around for 15 years. There's a good chance it's not going to go away for a little bit, but like there's still that possibility. And guess what? You just spent $250 on the time to spend with that skin when you play there, right? That's what it boils down to. And like any of these gacha games or any of these other sort of like digital asset selling, I'm not going to yuck somebody's yum if they like buying stuff, but I do want to really stress that, you know, is it worth the value? And like, that's going to be a subjective answer. It's going to be different for every person. I cannot imagine how this is going to be worth it to people, even at the luxury level, the hyper exclusive luxury level. This just feels bad, man. And just constantly, and you're rewarding that behavior by buying it. Anyway, man.
I mean, make your players feel bad enough and you can kill your game. That's like the TLDR is don't have a guy who's just about money who comes from Goldman Sachs retail division lead your company, because he's obviously just going to try to squeeze the players with 2 rocks in each hand. Like,
yeah, squeeze blood from a stone.
Pretty silly. It's pretty silly. There's real ways to get people's money. I've said it before, right? There's a reason why like World of Warcraft is $15 on a subscription base that it probably shouldn't even be on subscription anymore. But I got no problem paying them the $15 because they haven't changed it ever. Like I said, take my money. Here you go. I got an active subscription. I haven't even played the new expansion that I bought, like at all. I'm not even joking. And I'm still paying for the stupid thing. It's $15 or whatever, right? Get me on a subscription service or something. Like, I don't know. Make me enjoy the skins, not make me like be pissed off that I spent some money where I could go take a vacation.
Right, dude. Right.
And just for your reference, 13.5 is what you get for $100. You get 13,500 for $100.
Okay. For 13,500 RP for $100.
Yep. And if you say 40, right?
What is it? They said that we need 32,000 RP.
We'll say 33 because I think it was some change, right?
I think it was 32,000. So yeah, let's just say 33. That's like 2.5. That's like $250 roughly, right?
Yeah, about 2.5.
All right. Well, we need to wrap because we could talk circles about this one, and this is infuriating. But what do you guys think? Are you just as mad as us? What is the breaking point for you if you're mad? What is a silver lining for you if you're not as mad? let us know in the comments. Let us know down in social media, wherever you're at. Add us, the Esports Meta, everywhere you are on social media, or you can check us out here live. Comment where you are and let us know your thoughts on this, because, man, we are pissed about it. And how would you fix this is another great question. How would you fix this problem that Riot is now creating for themselves? Everyone's got opinions. Let's hear yours. All right. But for now, let's move into the last part of our show, scores and pick'ems for Worlds. We're sticking with League of Legends. We're sticking with Riot for now. But, we're going into the esports aspect of it, because we know, man, Nick, just thinking about this too, this is going to have ramifications for something like esports division and competitive gaming, etc. too, I'm sure. And that just feels bad. But anyway, let's move into the scores, recap what happened this past weekend at Worlds. Here we are, the games that happened. Weibo Gaming went up against LNG. Billy fought against Hanwha Life. Top Esports against T1. And Genji played FlyQuest. Nick, how were you feeling watching these games? What was the one that stood out most to you? And I think I know your answer. Why was it FlyQuest versus Genji?
Because they almost won. Like, that was really crazy. Absolutely crazy. Weibo and LNG was pretty ridiculous, but like that was, I thought it was gonna be a toss up. The fact that Hanwha Life lost, pretty nuts as well. Like, I didn't expect them to lose. I didn't think Billy Gaming was actually gonna win, but I did think that there was a possibility, considering who Hanwha Life really played throughout the event and everything, as I went over last week. So
okay. So yeah, looking at the score lines here, Weibo won over LNG 3-1. And that was, we were talking about, like you said, it was a bit of a toss-up. But here, it looked pretty one-sided, and at least in the score line. How was the actual matches playing out-wise for this one? Was it as dominant as the scoreline looked, or was it a bit more competitive, closer, where, barn burner, but LNG just couldn't close out the games, couldn't make the mistakes stop?
No, it really just came down to a lot of little baby choices for the most part. Certain team fighting was pretty. I don't want to be mean, because they're just that much better. Yeah, a lot of little things add up, and there's a lot of there's a lot of league culture in general that could just say oh, mid diff, or bot diff, or top diff. They could just do that nonsense. But there's so many little things that end up, making the huge snowball that actually carries the whole entire team over. So, we could break those ones down, but it wasn't as exciting as it was just
well, then how about
them plus. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, how about Billy versus Hanwha? That was something we didn't sort of expect. We were banking on Hanwha taking that W, but Billy takes it 3-1 in the scoreline there. That, again, it seems pretty decisive in Billy. Did they just have the fire in them, or what? Because or is it more of that little things add up, both positively and negatively?
They had so many team fights. This was a very brawly bunch of games. Okay. If I'm remembering correctly, it was very brawly. There was just there was some. There was a lot of team fighting in all these.
Okay. Was that the same for T1 and Top Esports? This was a pretty easy sort of pick'ems for us. T1 over Top Esports seemed like the easy pick. 3-0 scoreline and in that game as a final score there. Was it kind of the same in that way too, or is brawly just a lot of team fights?
This was a bodying. This is T1. T1 showed up for Faker's last year. I do not I really do feel like Faker retires after this year. But it was very much a stomp. It was very, very much a stomp.
Yeah, and then it definitely shows on that scoreline, and there's not really much behind that other than T1 dominated. The last one here, I know I saved this one for last because this was something that surprised us both. This was one that you were really excited about. This is when you were texting me when it was happening, yo, FlyQuest actually has the strats, bro. What's going on here? Genji wins over FlyQuest 3-2. This was one that we talked about last week. We're okay, FlyQuest, they keep saying we've got it. They won't scrim against Korea teams. They won't scrim against other teams, trying to keep their strats secret. They say they've got the juice. it was time to put up, and they did. They were leading 2-1 at one point, weren't they? Against Gen G, the number one team potentially in the world.
They won they won the first and third game, and so going into the fourth game, they were 2-1, which
Game match.
It was close.
That was point match, game point. That's the word, game point. They just needed to win one more, and they ended up losing 2 in a row.
For the most part, it came down. Like, I personally think like this kind of came down to the picks and bans and what players could pick and what they could play on stage. Because when certain people got certain champions, it felt like the game was a lock and stuff like that. So that's like really like one of the things that like really carried FlyQuest over.
Would you say that FlyQuest's secret strategy was the banning and picking? Like they were able to ban
FlyQuest's secret strategy was having a mid laner. Their bot lane is awesome too. Like Masu performed really, really well, right? As like I don't think it was his rookie year. Can't remember if it's like this is like his second year, I think. But I think it's like his first time in the world stage. I think that's what it was. He performed really, really well, even when like the team was like blowing up around him, like when the game was just like blowing up. But like, all right. So let me say this. The mid laner for FlyQuest.
Yeah.
Right. What's his name again? Quad, right? So Quad is like friends with Chovy, like when he was back in Korea. Like he's friends with Chovy, he plays with Chovy, and he wanted to show Chovy that he was a good mid laner. Chovy, as I've said, it like feels like he is at times the best mid laner in the world, even compared to Faker, and other times where he's like the same as Faker, that like he's never not in contention for being the number one mid laner. This is like, I'm not saying that that's the reason why they win the game, but like Inspired is really good for just a jungle, right? I mean, like that's pretty disrespectful to say it like that, but like for a jungler player, like he makes some really interesting decisions, especially with Champool. And really the game that they lost was because they decided to play too much ability power champions, and then they didn't ban a Cassidy. Granted, they didn't think someone was going to play Cassidy, but Jesus Christ, dude. And then and that was just like the stupid stuff. They were like, oh man, we got to get a quad up on the Cassidy. And it's like, no, just gank other lanes. Just do it elsewhere. Fuck to Cassidy. He's going to split push at the end of the game anyway. Just like stop worrying about him. And what they ended up doing was literally like throwing the game because they went after a Cassidy too much. Right. But then there's other games where like Quad just like, he's like, here's a solo kill, big boy. Like send you home. So as I was like, I've said this like the whole entire time, right? I don't hate on Appa really. He's way better at mid lane than I'll ever be. He's way better at League than I'll ever be. I think he's a support player. I said it before Worlds even started. Yeah. Team Liquid needed a mid laner. Like Quad's a mid laner, bro. Like Blibbo's pretty good at top. There were some really like some glaring mistakes that he made in certain situations. There were some mistakes that Quad Inspired made. Masu made a few mistakes, but really, the thing is like they performed really, really well overall. And they had a mid laner who would not crumble against international mid laners. Go figure that would be like a thing that, you need to have. Success.
Yeah.
If you can't beat Faker and you can't beat Chovy, just pack it the fuck in. Like, I don't know what else to say.
Maybe it's not even about just beating them. It's just matching them, like just getting and keeping them from getting out of control, like, right? So that you have a chance in the late game. Maybe that's the idea there. Maybe that's the thought. And like FlyQuest is able to do that finally. I'm speaking out my butt here. I'm speaking more about strategy and tactic and thought process around it. So is that assessment, or is that like, did FlyQuest lose this game or did Gen G win this game?
Depends on which match we're talking about.
Gotcha.
Like game number two, FlyQuest like FlyQuest lost the shit out of that game. It was like they got caught with their pants down on game
But,
2.
Yeah. Was that because of a pick ban thing? Was that because the execution in match was bad?
I'd have to get the actual.
Literally with this scoreline, if they won one more round, they win the second round, they win the second map, they would have beaten Gen G, right? They won the fourth one or the fifth one, right? So like that's where the question is: did Gen G win this game because they played well and like FlyQuest played well, or did FlyQuest lose this game because FlyQuest made a crucial error at one point? Like, that's a complicated question, but I do feel like that might be at the heart of what we're analyzing here, what we're looking at overall.
Yeah, it was like certain champions getting picked are really, really hard to deal with. Like even right now, people should know that like once you get into like, excuse me, even in solo queue right now, solo queue, like Skarner's strong as hell, right? And like Skarner gets picked up by Gen G, and they win the first game, but later on it becomes a pretty pivotal thing. But like where is it? The game 4? Game 4 was the one with the with Cassidy, and really like it just came down to just not shoring up what you were doing at these times with like pick and ban phase. Like when they just overcommitted to certain strats, and like that's the rough part for it.
Right. And like that sounds interesting because they came into this saying they had secret strats. So like you kind of also almost knew they would go hard on what they were planning. But then like what you're saying is that they ended up overcommitting and they didn't have enough flexibility when it mattered. They were so close to making this happen, but then losing 3-2 and a 2-map loss streak at the end there. It's not quite a reverse sweep, but damn, was it close. So, I'm sure they're kicking themselves in the butt a little bit. I'm sure they're also proud of themselves. They get a good shot, NA representing against an LCK team. And now looking forward into the matches coming up this weekend, we've got the LCK finals being repeated with T1 and Gen G, right?
Yep.
And then we've got Weibo Gaming.
Well, not really, but yeah, like they're going to be, it's one of the games that like, I do not think that T1's even going to lose on this. Like, I think they're in like top form. They're in, what do you call it? Tour form. They're in tour form, baby.
Yeah. That should be a game that's going to be watched because the loser's out, right? So at this point, either T1 or Gen G, they could be knocked out of this tournament. They're not going to see the finals. And then you've got Billy and Weibo on the other side. This could lead into a very lopsided finals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of looking that way.
Yeah, dude, there's like, it's just so silly, some of these things. Just, like some of the picks that ended up happening, like it's really just like that. Look, that Cassidy game is gonna haunt them until next year. Like just like knowing that like you pick too much, like don't let a champion who just has a shield. Like there's so many. Basically, like what happened is Cassidy produces a magic only shield.
Okay.
And that allowed him to just have way more effective health than you can possibly burst down in those situations. Because, may just do some good upfront damage, but he also got magic defense early on, right? He got magic resist. So he ended up with like a very large amount of magic resist plus more effective health from his shield. And they kept trying to pressure him magically. Like Gotcha. That's what I mean by like that situation was just a real throw on a situation that they could have just like really, really won the game without feeding. And I'll call it feeding. Like it's just, and then they did it again. Like that's the crazy shit to me, that it was just insanity that they were like, let's gank him again. Let's force it again. And then someone dies under tower and he lives with like one sliver of health. And it's like, where's your coach? And why isn't he hitting you? And it's one of the things that I think in league should happen, that I love for like the race to world first. I do want coaches on stage I'm tired of this shit where like we just let the players play for 45 minutes. Like if you want to be like a real sport, have the coach there and have the coach going like, yo, we're not doing that play. That's stupid. But also then,
yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say it makes sense for different formats of different competitive games. Maybe we don't see that in an FPS, but for League of Legends, which games can run 30, 45, 55 minutes, I know like in the long end of things, like maybe that makes more sense for like football or soccer, right? Like those longer sort of like situations. Even hell, hockey, right? You've got the coach at the bench yelling for line changes, yelling for plays to happen, making this happen. And of course, they call the timeouts when it needs to happen. Maybe we adopt more of that in esports. League of Legends might be the perfect place for something like maybe a MOBA is the perfect place for a coach to come in and be like Max on the sideline, just kind of spitting truth, you know. But I think there's a lot to be reviewed there because how much information do they have access to? What kind of eyes in the sky are they? You know, do they just follow player cams or do they like free cam themselves, right? It's an interesting proposition and something that might be justified when we're talking about these pick bans, when we're talking about the way these teams play, how they commit into a thing, and the lack of flexibility in that 30-minute plus match.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so Nick, if you had any other sort of comments about that, I feel like FlyQuest and Gen G game, we could take a look at the VOD. We can review the specificality of it. You do feel pretty definitive on what lost them the game. Is there any sort of final thoughts on how to approach looking at that? Or should we, you know, go look at the VODs and also do a breakdown at a later point for us?
The only thing, I just don't want the Americas to just say like, it's a fluke. It's a fluke. Like, where'd that baby come from?
I just squished that baby. No.
But no, it's like, you know, some people would treat it as a fluke. It's one of the things that I've said, like, America's not a weak region. It's just we haven't found the right mixes on certain teams, right? Because there's so much like money being thrown everywhere, just buying players, moving them around and stuff like that. A lot of these Asian teams work more for like what works for the team and how well the team can play rather than getting these like big stars and going like, let's just throw them on the team. We got superstars, all these superstars, because that always works out, right?
Yeah. You know what's crazy about the superstar mentality too? If anything, it's supposed to be like, you know, a 100 Thieves or like, you know, like one of those organizations that are also content creation organization, right? Like you're picking up personalities and celebrities and big star players to sell merch, right? Speaking about that on on a traditional sports mentality, you look at the New York Jets picking up Aaron Rodgers. It's been such a shit show this year for them. And as a football fan, watching the game, etc., I'm not a fan of the Jets. And like, this is why, because they're picking up a superstar celebrity player and you can see the intentions aren't to win a Super Bowl. That's like a byproduct. The intentions seem to be selling tickets and selling jerseys. So like, you know, to your point, we see organizations, especially in esports, pick up that streamer, pick up that celebrity or that star player, even if they're not like a big internet streamer. It doesn't work out well for them versus picking up what's best for the team, working together to develop the player for the team, for the organization. Esports, I don't want to say esports needs to grow up on that, but like there needs to be a mental shift from people who are making these decisions, because yes, there's a point where you need to make the money, but then there's a point where you got to win the stuff to make the money too. Sorry, I wanted to jump in and say that and bring it to a relative point for others who might not be like super on top of League of Legends or other esports. All right. Yeah.
Agree.
So from here, let's wrap up as far as scores to go, and let's take a look at our picks from this past week. I don't think there's really a lot that changed. Really short. I'm currently sitting still at 130 points, which I don't know if it was updated because we're still in the knockout stages. I was in the top part of A tier of that. Our picks from last week. Quarterfinals. Here we go. Picked LNG over Weibo. That was a bad pick. Picked Hanwha over Billy. That was a bad pick. I picked T1 over over Top Esports, which was easy peasy, and Gen G over FlyQuest. We still didn't believe the hype, but they made a push for it. Good on them. Congratulations on making those moves. But looking, really didn't move the needle for us currently, totally. But, taking a look at this week's picks, we really have one decision to make, I think, here. Gen G or T1. Because the other one is like, I think it could be a toss-up, and like it's kind of like a nothing burger. Whoever gets to the next round, we both doubt it is going to beat T1 or Gen G. So who do you thinking? You're still on the board with Faker being the year. They're being in top form. They're in ship shape. They're making things happen. S-tier sort of execution right now to beat Gen G? Or do you think Gen G comes back from this near miss on FlyQuest and really dial it up to go against their local rival, let's say?
I think T1 just wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be like a good match, but Kyria is fucking insane. The support for T1 is fucking insane. He is. I like. There's one point, I don't remember what match it was, right?
Yeah.
And no one besides people who play League of Legends is going to understand this. But he dives in to do something basically on a champion called Rakan. It's his W, right? He jumps to an area and then basically like knocks people up, right? He misses. Okay? He misses. He just like he eats shit right there. It just misses, right? Everybody kind of tries to catch him off guard, right? He literally fancy feats. He dodges like two skill shots like real quick, right? And then he ultimates. He does some footsies. He literally ultimates, and his ultimate is he gets to get a little bit of movement speed, and then anybody who he touches and basically like gets near, they have to attack him for like 2 seconds or something like that, right? And then he just CCs the whole fucking team with no flash and no W. I'm not like, that's what I'm saying. Like it was actually insanity.
That sounds like a major skill check.
And it wasn't like he dodged like the other support skills. He literally dodged the mid laner skills, the like right off the jump, and just didn't get stunned. Like he just like whap, didn't even flash, didn't have flash, and he just let me get this ultimate. And like maybe he flashed at the end to do it, but he had no W. Like I don't think he flashed, if I'm recalling it correctly. It was an insane moment where he just like it basically felt like this is the thing with League of Legends, right? If you're a good support, you're impactful, right? If you're an okay support, it's fine. You're just not like basically you're just not dying. Like don't die, right? And then if you're just a bad support, you're also impactful, negatively impactful, right?
Yeah, negatively impactful.
Like, and that's why I actually like watching like a lot of supports, because like a lot of supports are really like they're enablers for the most part, or like defensive players and stuff like that, where there's more. I don't want to say skill expression, but there's more to do with how the game's going to end up with how the supports really play it, because they're on a lack of resources. They're playing champions that usually aren't like just busted for the most part, right? He's like, that's it. He did a thing, he missed, and then it was just fancy feet. I got my ultimate. Now everybody follow me. Like it was gross. It was absolutely gross. And you can tell like that's why he won. That's why they won. Like Kyria he's great.
I want to point out too, because you're talking about the play he made against Top Esports. Top Esports is a pretty good team, right? So like he's not doing this against Silvers. He's doing this against some of the best players in the world. So amazing to hear that play. I really would like to take a look at that replay and see that happen. But how do you think he's going to end up doing on this one against Gen G? They're going to take it. I think you sold me on it. T1 over Gen G. I think it could easily go to Gen G's way, but I think you sold me on that pick. But then for the other pick here, Billy or Weibo, my bet might be more Billy because Billy came out strong 3-1. Even though Weibo did too, Billy seemed a little bit more assertive in that play. What are you thinking? How do you think this game is going to play out?
I'll be honest, couldn't care less. It's going to be a fine game, but I could not care less.
Fine, just
like
fine.
Fine, just fine indeed. Like I'm going to watch the match. It's going to be pretty good. I'd probably lean towards Weibo just because I feel like they got some juice left in the tank. And I think it's a real shame that you don't get to pick like what the number will be.
Would be?
You know? Yeah, the score. Because like I feel like crazy enough, I feel like it's gonna be like 3-0 Weibo Gaming, bro. Weibo Gaming is just gonna take it 3-0 for no reason.
All right. Kind of a decisive moment here between Billy and Weibo, because like not only do they need to win this game to stay in, but then they need to have enough fuel in the tank to go against Gen G or T1. We're thinking it's going to be T1, and if that's the
T1
case,
wins Worlds.
if that's the case, they're going to need some serious jet rocket fuel, some jet engine fuel to beat them. So prediction here: T1 Faker takes Worlds on potentially his last season. We're putting our money into Weibo versus T1 in the finals. They're going to win out this weekend. I think that's a pretty solid option, pretty solid pick overall. Hopefully that helps us in the leaderboards.
I'm sorry that next week spoils who wins Worlds, because there's no shot that Gen G or T1 don't win Worlds right now. Like, there's no shot.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe these guys, maybe FlyQuest throws their little handbook at
right
at Weibo Gaming or something, you know? Right?
Yeah.
Like, hey guys.
Maybe T1 takes a look at that VOD and goes, okay, we see what happened there. Let's do it better.
Yeah.
Absolutely possibility.
And
sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say Lehens is just as good as Kyria. Like, he just doesn't have a highlight like that. Like, Lehens is great. He's the support for Gen G. There's a lot of good going on. But I think it's going to come down to like them having to ban Yone. Like Gen G is going to have to ban Yone or something like that, where if they don't watch out for like Baker's in prime form, man. Like I don't know what they're going to do, like who they're going to ban out. And it's like spicy because whoever wins Worlds, we get the World skins and everything like that. And there's some really crazy things. You have to play them at least once in Worlds. You can't just pick whoever you want. Yeah, you have to at least play the champion that you're going to pick, right? And you have to at least play once. And at one point, like, I don't know if they'll do it this time, but there was a time where like basically T1 had like a 6th member. It was EasyHoon, I believe. Okay. And basically like the 6th member got a skin because he got to play like a little bit in Worlds, right? And so what I'm hoping happens, right, is that the substitute player for T1, right? We've talked about him a little bit.
See if I can pull him up.
Where is he? It should be marked as reckless. Yeah. See? Yeah, he's marked as a support. I'm not saying play him over Kyria. I do think he's doing great work as a support. And he used to be an AD carry. Like he was the bot carry, right? The guy with the gun. I don't think that they're really going to play him, but I would really hope that they like, you know, if T1 wins against Gen G, they could literally put him out. They could put him like Weibo Gaming, Billy Gaming. Who cares? Like they're going to win regardless. I think they're going to win regardless. So
true. Worst case is they put him in for one map, one round, and then they swap back. So absolutely the case. This is a stacked roster in high octane form right now. It's going to be a good game to watch them take on Gen G coming up this weekend. Lot happening, lot to worry about. But Nick, I think that's all the time we have for this right now. Thanks for joining us so far. Thanks for watching too. Nick, as we head out to the sunset here, you know, we had a bit of highs and lows, especially with talking about the skins, talking about Supervive, talking about Rivals of Aether 2 coming out tomorrow. What do you want to walk away with saying? Any sort of notes do you want to sort of talk about, end on? Because we are ending on a high note. You know, with this expected game, this decider match for League of Legends Worlds happening between T1 and Gen G, like this is going to likely decide who's winning it. So anything else you want to like as we wrap up, send us off with any information, any thoughts, anything you're looking forward to?
Bet your house on T1. just kidding.
I mean, I wish I could do that for that Sanctum system. That'd be cool. I'd bet my house on that.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, and it does feel like a safe bet, but they have to get through Gen G first.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Nick, thanks for playing along, having some fun, talking some esports and video games with me today. It was a lot of fun. This has been the Esports Meta. We're on live every Tuesday here on Twitch and YouTube. You can also catch us on the Sports Fluent Network, where we're the esports podcast. We talk video game news and competition every week. You can also find us on every social media platform where you're at, and every podcast platform, depending if you want a little bit of social clips or you want to catch us at a later point. There you have it. There we are. But thank you for joining us. Thanks for being here, watching along. We really appreciate it. Hit like, subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us out, and it's free for you guys. Other than that, this has been the Esports Meta. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, Canada.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing. Nah, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.